Good morning. Today I'll talk about the fourth travel of Nanak. Nanak apparently, the tradition is Nanak apparently took four major journeys in Asia. The fourth one was the last one, which took place towards the end of his period of homelessness. Baba Nanak had become homeless, he had left home, he left his wife and two sons and took sannyas, and then after the fourth journey, he gave up sannyas and became basically a kind of homemaker. He came back home and his wife joined him. He was given a big chunk of land by one well-wisher in Kartarpur, which is about half a kilometer from the border now, the Gurudwara, the corridor that was opened by Pakistan a few years ago. That was the place where he got land on the right side of this river and started langar, which I think initially was a kind of tradition. Historians tell that was begun by the Sufis, and so Nanak starts langar and that kind of work. So he continues to, in many ways, behave like a sannyasi. Sannyasi in the sense he had property, but he would use that property for kind of social welfare, not for his personal gain. And so he has property, but in many ways he is propertyless. And he now has a home, but in many ways he is kind of homeless. So generally when we study sannyas from the beginning till about Guru Nanak, we understand that initially sannyas is you give up home completely, almost no contact with human civilization as such, and you meet your basic needs from nature. You do not go on begging rounds and you have no contact with human habitations. And then Buddha brings sannyas to the outskirts of human habitations when he says we are like sort of teachers, and so you teach normal humans, and so you establish your viharas, monasteries on the outskirts of human habitations, and you beg for food, and in return you teach them. And so then Nanak literally brought sannyas to the kitchen, at home, inside a home. And so Nanak at the end of his fourth journey says that whatever you can do as a homeless person, as a wanderer, you can do that at home as well. At the same time, you can fulfill your family responsibilities, which he said is also very important. Live as a normal person. And perhaps you are aware, in Sikhism, a priest is also expected to get married, because sexuality also has been an issue. So Sikh priests get married, they have their own families, at the same time they do the duties of priests, etc. So whatever kind of sannyasis Sikhs are supposed to have. However, there has been a kind of deviation from that. We have a group of Sikhs called Nihangs who do not get married. They are kind of warriors. You know about Nihangs, I suppose. They are...
No, here I don't think they would know about it.
Oh, so you wouldn't... Nihang, these Sikhs who wear blue kind of over cloth, and carry a lance, bhala. And so they are kind of battle ready. In India, at one point of time, Brahmanical Hinduism also, a section of these wanderers, sadhus, armed themselves to fight against whatever kind of injustice they thought was being done to the society. So you have this sort of combination of Shastra and Shastra. A person who is reading or teaching from the holy book is also carrying a weapon to defend whatever this holy book is about, to defend this, and is prepared to die or even kill. And so you have that kind of tradition in Sikhism, and very strong one. And as a little child, because I come from the faith, I remember Nihangs coming to our house. When they ask for a donation, you can't afford to say no. There would be problems if you say no. Fairly aggressive. And perhaps you heard this story when siege was laid, Delhi was basically surrounded by these farmers for I think nearly 2 years. One boy, Sikh boy, at night was caught stealing money from underneath the holy book. He was a drug addict. The boy was also a Sikh from the Shudra background. So these Nihangs caught him, hung him upside down, and then cut him to death. And so you have that kind of tradition. But anyway, Nanak he was a very peaceful kind of bhakti saint. And so he settles down. He, of course, as we were talking last time, his son, elder son, refuses to follow that path. He says, no, sannyas is a better, shorter way to liberation. So I don't agree with that. Then there are all sorts of views whether there was serious acrimony between the two, father and son, to the extent that father refused to give his gaddi, choose him as his heir in a kind of very friendly manner, leave his son out of it. Or was there some kind of understanding? The father says, Nanak says, okay, we will have 2 lines. You continue with this line, and Angad, the second Guru of the Sikhs, will continue this line, my line, where the Guru will get married, have a family, live at home, have children, so on and so forth. And this other tradition, which his father continued with, son continued with, in which you do not get married. It's kind of, sexuality is kind of seen as very sinful. Anyway, so after the 4th journey, Nanak decides to give up sannyas and settle down at Kartarpur. And so we will talk about this journey and what exactly is the evidence for this journey. Now some scholars who have, Western scholars particularly, who have worked on the journeys of Nanak, they say they are mythical, are not really historical. Some people have expressed sort of doubt, and they look for, or they ask for, historical evidence. What is the evidence that Nanak went on these journeys? And the records that exist of these journeys are not from the period of Nanak. There is a bit of gap. But in sannyas, at least in India, we have kind of oral traditions whereby the sayings or the discourses of a teacher or a guru are continued orally from generation to generation. For example, the Vedas or the Buddhist holy books continued for hundreds and hundreds of years orally, and then they were put down to writing. And perhaps there were reasons why they were put down to writing. There was a lot of hesitation in putting these holy books to writing because there are all kinds of other issues with that. Anyway, so I remember in Toronto University, one person was getting a PhD, and this professor, I think McAuliffe, he was talking about the journeys. He said, no, they are mythical. There is no proof. And I like traveling. I was once traveling from England to India by land, and I came to Azerbaijan, and it was very cold, and very cold, very windy, very cold. And I went to a restaurant to have a couple of drinks because I thought it was very cold for me. And so this gentleman said, you from India? I said, yes. Have you seen the Indian temple here? I said, no. And then so we began talking, and then he said, it's about 15 kilometers from here. So I took another extra drink, and then I said, okay. So I went there, and so I was amazed. There were something like 25 inscriptions in Indian languages, 2 in Gurumukhi, Punjabi, 2 in Nalanda script of the moneylenders that was used in Punjab, and 1 in Farsi, Punjabi Farsi.
Do we have any examples of this?
Yeah, I will be showing that. And rest of them are in Devanagari. Punjabi influenced Sanskrit and Hindi. Punjabi influenced. I'll show you that. So, and then I went with some friends later on, and then after that I've been there many times, and I worked on this and also wrote a book. So, the 4th journey takes place from, so he starts from here, the Pakistani Punjab area, from here, Kartarpur, this area, around this area. Nanak was born in the area which is now in Pakistan, Nankana Sahib. He spent most of his life in that part of India which is now Pakistan, Punjabi Pakistan. And so the accent and the language that Baba Nanak used was that kind of Punjabi. Punjabi has 3-4 very serious accents which differ from each other so much that the moment you open your mouth, I can tell if another Punjabi opens his mouth in front of me, I can tell which area of Punjabi he or she comes from. There's so much variety, just like English. You can tell simply listening to a person from Scotland or Ireland or different parts of England by simply listening to the person, the way they pronounce words. So anyway, so Baba Nanak starts from here, comes towards somewhere near Karachi, and from here he takes a ship, possibly travels all the way from here towards Makkah. So by East Africa. So he starts somewhere from here and then comes to this area, Karachi, near Karachi, takes a ship from here and possibly travels, takes this route and goes to Mecca. And perhaps went into East Africa, or maybe his disciples, but we will talk about that later. And then from here he travels by this area, Iraq, and then Iran, and then comes here. Baku is here. So he comes to Baku and then crosses the Caspian Sea and then travels back via possibly Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, then Afghanistan, and then back home to Baku. Kartarpur, the place where he settled down. And the records that are available, they don't belong to the time of Baba Nanak, but Baba Nanak lived only about 500 years ago, 550 years ago. So it's not very long ago. So the records of his journeys that have been put down to writing, one of these is called Khalsa, Tawarikh Guru Khalsa, History of the Khalsa Religion or Itihas Shri Guru Nānaka Dev Ji, Part 1 by Gyani Gyan Singh. So I have copied this from paragraph from this fourth journey, the description given by, the record made by Gyani Gyan Singh. And so it says that he traveled so on so forth, Iran, and then Iran he came to from Karakar. Karakar is in Iraq. He came to Karakar, then Asfahan. Asfahan is a very famous place today. The remains of a Zoroastrian fire temple in Asfahan. Asfahan is a very beautiful city, those of you who have been there. So the temple is really very beautiful. So he comes to Asfahan, then Nersi, Belas, and then he says from these cities he traveled on, and he talks, I'll show you the English translation. Then he enters Urganj, country of Urganj, which was part of Russia, that is Azerbaijan area. And he says this area is between Iran and Turkestan, that is present-day Xinjiang. And here he says he visits a place near a mountain where you have temple of Jwalamukhi, fire temple, which we will talk about. And he talks about the fire coming out, so on and so forth. So he says that this place is locally known as Mahajwala. And the Indian Jwalamukhi temple in Himachal is called Jwala, Choti Jwala, smaller fire temple, and this one is bigger fire temple. And from there he says he went also on and so forth further on his journey towards India. And this is the translation. And so he talks about Zarathustra, who was the founder of, apparent founder of Zoroastrianism. And he sees few very interesting things. He says, when he visits this area, Iran had become obviously a Muslim nation, and apparently Nanak had a lot of Muslim disciples as well. In fact, when Nanak died, there was a big kind of fight between the Muslims and the Hindus as to who should be allowed to, do the funeral of this great person. So anyway, so he says before Islam comes here, he says earlier before Islam, here it was the Parsis, the Zoroastrians. Indians call Zoroastrians Parsis. Parsis who worshipped fire and cow. Very interesting, cow worshippers. I don't think Parsis are cow worshippers, but he says they worshipped cow also. Now there is a story that when a battle took place during the Rig Vedic period, somewhere around 1100 BCE, this battle of 10 kings, thus Rajiya King Yuddha. So these Aryan 10 tribes fought. The tribes who lost were pushed towards the west. And so the ones who lost were very unhappy. So all the gods that are worshipped by these Aryans, the ones whose description you get in the Rig Veda, so they worship Indra and fire. But fire was kind of neutral thing. But Indra, who was the god of war of the Aryans, these Indian Aryans, the Aryans who lost, naturally Indra did not help them very much. So they respect the opposite gods. So if you look at the Zoroastrian deities, they are all mentioned in the Rig Veda also, Rig Veda, but their roles have been directly the opposite. So our Asuras become their Suras, their Devas. Their Devas actually means demons. So Zoroastrians use the word Dev for a demon. And we use the word Asur for a demon. And for them, Asuras are actually angels, sort of angels. Anyway, so, and then he says he went to Karakar, Asfahan, and so on and so forth, and then goes all the way to Baku, this place. Baku is not mentioned by name, by the way. There is a story to that also. And he sees this temple of Jwala, and he says it is known as Mahajwala temple. The temple looks like this. There are about 24 chambers. 23 of them were kind of meditation chambers in which these Indian sannyasis lived, and the sanctum in the center, and there was a place where the dead bodies were cremated. Whenever one of the sadhus died, his body was cremated here. Now proper archaeological and carbon dating, that kind of stuff has been done, so nobody disputes that these were the things that were happening here. And so there were 7 fires. One, this one 2, one here 3, 4 on the top. So these were 7 natural fires that were burning. 7 again, interestingly, is a holy number. 7 fires were burning when this sanctum was built. So these 4 fires in the 4 corners were sort of continued to burn, and one in the center, and 2 other fires. And all these chambers except one have an inscription. I'll show you the pictures. So apparently Indian businessmen from Punjab, who devotees who came there, and some from as far as Varanasi. We have historical evidence. Some Europeans who visited this area, including Alexandra Duma, was also there. Is given a detailed description of this place. And so these scholars have left evidence of having met Indians over there, or on the way from Varanasi to that place, going on pilgrimage to the temple of Mahajwala, till you have trouble in the Afghanistan area. This pilgrimage stopped, otherwise Indians were traveling. And very interesting thing about Indians is great fire. Jwala is the name of a goddess, Lord Shiva's wife. She apparently committed suicide by jumping in fire because she had some disagreement with her father, Lord Shiva's wife. And so she's also known as Jwala. Jwala is fire. And so her husband, when she died, committed suicide. Her husband, Lord Shiva, carried her dead body on his shoulder and started that dance called Tandav Nritya, destruction of the world. And so gods were very scared, so they conspired, and then they shot the dead body with an arrow, one of the gods, and the body was split into 54 or 51 parts, and wherever the tongue of the wife fell, Parvati, natural fire started emanating from the earth, and that those places, 4 or 5 places, are known as Jwala temple. And the most famous temple within India is in Himachal. The place itself is called Jwala, Jwalamukhi's temple. Mukhi is face, fire-faced goddess. And apparently this also is a temple which is supposed to, whose origins are supposed to go back to that myth that we talk about. And so here 7 fires were burning. Even now there are a couple of places in Azerbaijan itself where natural fire burns. So when tourists go to Baku, they are taken to this temple where now the fires are artificial. So gas through a pipe is supplied, and only for travelers, tourists, it's turned on in the morning, and in the evening they turn it off. Because the Europeans and the Russians came here to basically process collection of natural gas, and so the supply towards this temple was cut off, and so now you do not have natural fire taking place at this temple. This is the view of the temple from outside. The second story, this This room is for guests. They call balkhane in Turkic language. Balkhane, guest room for guests who came. So this temple, the view from outside. This is the view from inside. So the fire that you see burning at 3 places now, inside here, here, and another place on the other side. This is not natural now. It is basically piped gas into this temple. 2 views from 2 opposite sides of the entire temple from inside. So when I visited this last time, some excavations were going on, so the whole area is sort of dug out. Sorry? This is the sky. Sorry, so it's not that clear from there. The temple and this is the sky. Two pictures put together. One from the south, other one from the north, from 2 sides, panoramic view. So all the 4 directions, from all 4 directions, the entire view of the temple from inside. You can see everything in these 2 pictures, the inside of the temple. So this is the sanctum. Now see, this picture was taken some 70, 80 years ago. So it has the Trishul and the cupola you see on a typical Hindu sort of temple. And then you have here the fire burning. Possibly by this time this had stopped, gas had been cut off, so this is artificial. So natural gas supplied through a pipe. And but just see, I'll show you another picture. Just see the Trishul to this fireplace, Vedi. In the Indic fire worship, because fire is very important to God for the Indians even now. No sacred ceremony basically takes place without fire. Fire is a witness, a link between this world and the other world. So therefore fire is a witness. When you get married, you have fire as a witness. And so there is a proper procedure as to what should be the height of this place, fire, the fire that you burn, ignite, the height of this fireplace, it's called Vedi. So the height and the dimensions are specific. Okay, just see this. I'll show you the latest how this has been changed out of possibly ignorance by Ilhan, the present president of Azerbaijan. Now, this tragedy took place when Mr. Nobel, in whose name the Nobel Prize has been constituted, it was basically his family and he who owned this company that basically harvested natural gas and petroleum in this area. They had the contract to do this. So all the money that he earned, which went into this stuff called Nobel Prize, was actually earned from this area. Okay, Nobel's family. And this is the picture taken by Alexandra Dumas here. So the temple looked like this. He possibly came somewhere around 1850 or so. And this is the first visit, or one of the visits before the temple was sort of reconstructed or modified by the Azerbaijani government. So President Ilham Aliyev and his wife Mehriban Aliyeva both are here. So look at the Vedi. It is only few centimeters above the ground. Few centimeters above the ground. Okay, this one. Only few centimeters above the ground. And you can see it for the second picture of the same visit. So the Vedi is only few centimeters above the ground. And then the temple was sort of repaired, and then now you look at the Vedi, a platform has been built. This platform is the Zoroastrian style. Zoroastrian temples, fire temples, one, they are built on hillocks or mountains, not on plain ground. Two, they have a fire platform. So locally these people believe it is a Zoroastrian temple, so they built a platform. But problem is there is a lot of ignorance. I'll show you some other picture. They made a replica a few kilometers from there. That replica temple is on a small hillock, but built in the Hindu style. On that one they installed the Trishul. Now here there is no Trishul now. Trishul has either been removed or perhaps fell down, but was not re-put here. So they took all the trouble of making a platform here, fire platform, but not install Trishul, which wouldn't cost much. So that they have ignored, possibly out of ignorance. That's what the ambassador told me. I had a long argument with the ambassador. And then I talked to a few people in Azerbaijan. I spent some time, and they were largely possibly ignorant. And so now what happens, the new year, Navroz, the new year of the Zoroastrians, they celebrate it very enthusiastically here. So once I visited this temple on the day of Navroz, so thousands and thousands of Zoroastrians who live in Azerbaijan came here, and they were celebrating their new year here. So you can see these people dressed in beautiful clothes and celebrating the new year in front of the fire temple. They call it Atishgah, we will come to that. And in the space outside, the ground outside the temple that has been created. So you see so many of these people coming there. So it's a kind of holy place for the local Zoroastrians as well. And so you see beautifully dressed girls and dancing and doing all kinds of celebrations. So when the Ilhan Aliyev came here, before that when the temple was repaired, so you see this platform has been constructed here. But old pictures, I'll show you some more pictures. These are paintings done by people who came here during the during the late medieval period, and so they saw these fires and the Trishul and the 7 fires, 4 here and the 3 other fires in this area. And also these Indian sannyasis living here and the fires burning here. And the balkhane also has come up by this time when somebody made this painting of the temple. The latest one, a replica which has been made I think about 5 kilometers from this temple, because this temple is very, very famous for the Zoroastrians. This is now UNESCO protected site. So here, interestingly, they did not build a platform, because they built it on a small hillock. So they think it is a Zoroastrian temple, but its whole thing is Hindu. The Trishul is there and this Vedi is there. They did not build the platform here, but this part is Zoroastrian type. They have built it on a small hillock. So another painting made by somebody of these Indian sadhus here with the 7 fires burning. Actually some more fires were lit inside the chambers also perhaps. But originally we are told that there were 7 fires. And so Atishgah, locally it is called Atishgah. Atish is fire and Gaha is, even in Indian languages, Gaha for example in Pali, exactly Gaha, or Sanskrit, Graha is house. So it's basically house of fire, fire temple. But exact location of this temple is in a place called Surakhani. Surakhani, which is about 15 kilometers. The temple is around 15 kilometers from downtown Baku, and that location is called actually Surakhani. So Surakhani, Sura is red or warm, and Khani is again Khana, house. So red house or warm house, basically meaning the same thing, fire. So fire temple. This is the inscription on the sanctum. On the sanctum, this the building with the Vedi I showed you. This is the inscription on that building. I'll show you where exactly it is. Here, this area, this inscription is located here, or say, let's say here in front. And invariably, all the inscriptions, almost all of them, begin with Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. First sentence is this one, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. It has couple of swastikas, sun god, Surya, and Trishuls. I think 2 or 3 Trishuls here, flowers and so on and so forth. The entire thing is Hindu symbolism. And in the temple, Jwalaji, Shri Jwala has been used, I think, twice in this inscription itself. But we will come to that later. And it is Hindi, Devanagari, but Punjabiized Devanagari. For example, Mandir is mentioned as Mandar. In Punjabi we call Mandar, not Mandir, Mandar. So it's Hindi Nimit, Mandar, Banaya, Banvaya. Not Banvaya or Banaya, Banvaya in Punjabi. Typical Punjabi, because these sadhus or the people who put these inscriptions here were not very literate people, so they used Punjabiized Hindi. Even now when you talk to a Punjabi, or even my friends tell me that when I speak Hindi, they can tell it's Punjabi influenced in the Punjabi accent. So anyway, so all these inscriptions are Punjabi influenced. And so total 23 inscriptions, except 2 in Nalanda script, 2 in Gurumukhi, 1 in Farsi. Rest of them are in Devanagari script, Hindi Sanskrit mixture. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, as I told you, and goddess Jwalaji are mentioned almost in all the inscriptions. These 2 things, Jwalaji and Shri Ganeshaya Namaha and swastika, are mentioned in almost all the inscriptions. And 2 inscriptions also mentioned Ramji Sat, Ramji Sat, somewhere here, Ramji Sat, Ram the truthful. And of course the Gurumukhi inscriptions mention the Mool Mantra, the holy verse of the Japji Sahib Guru Granth, from the Guru Granth Sahib, that is mentioned. So as I was telling you, so most of the inscriptions mention Jwalaji ka Mandir, the temple of goddess Jwala, fire, the lady with the fire face. And so clearly you can see Punjabi influenced Hindi or Sanskrit, and Jwala, the other name of Durga, Lord Shiva's wife, consort. And so that you can see almost everywhere. And most of the inscriptions also mention dates in the Indian system, Samvat, and they range from 1705 to 1816. The dates on which these inscriptions were installed here by the businessmen who made donations, Indian businessmen who donated. And some research has been done. We are told that these businessmen were from Punjab, Multan area, because the Nalanda script that has been used is Multani. Nalanda, I learnt it for a couple of months and translated one of the 2 inscriptions. Very hard, because the Nalanda script, Nalanda basically means tail less. No tail means the matras that we use in the Indian languages, matras are not there. So Ram could become Rom, or Ram could also become Rama, because there are no matras. So it's very hard to sort of read it. And vowels, yeah.
Vowels are not there.
Yeah. So anyway, so these are the Hindu Khatri traders of Multani background who appear to have made the donations for the construction of these chambers here. But by about 1883, this temple becomes derelict. Problem was that Indians, the way they burn their dead bodies, the locals were very unhappy with that, because when dead body is burnt, this smoke and ash that goes up in the sky, these Muslims of the neighborhood were complaining that this is anti-Islamic or whatever. And also then invariably in every society, on every street, you have some good guys and some bad guys. So the local bad guys were always troubling the sadhus, and they were killed from time to time. And so the last sadhu who lived here was killed in 1883, and then the temple became derelict, and somebody put a lock on it. And then somewhere around towards some 20-30 years later, when the Russians sort of started taking more interest in this area, then the temple was again sort of opened. And the story that I was telling, the Battle of 10 Kings, apparently the Aryans who were pushed towards the west by the victorious Aryans in this Punjab region of India, Pakistan. So this one story, even Zindavasta mentions the origin of the Parsi Zoroastrians. The Zoroastrians came from this place, and one of the places mentioned in the Zindavasta is that the Zoroastrians came from Sapt Sindhu, Hapt Hindu, that basically means Punjab area. So there appears to be some historical truth in this, the Battle of 10 Kings, which ultimately perhaps became known as the Battle of Mahabharat. And so these Zoroastrians possibly were the Aryans who were pushed out of India as a result of this battle. They lost. And also remember theory that Aryans came from Central Asia to India. Well, one explanation could be that movement was not only unidirectional, that people were moving only in one direction. People also went back, and so there was migration in the reverse direction as well from time to time. So perhaps both could be facts, but we Indians generally believe that the Aryans originated in this Punjab region, present day Indian Pakistani Punjab, the Sapt Hindu, Hapt Hindu or Sapt Sindhu area, land of 7 rivers. And then they migrated towards Central Asia, so on and so forth. Interestingly, I got my DNA checked a few months ago in Canada, and so this DNA thing, you can find out your some 5,000-10,000 past generations. My forefathers migrated to India apparently from Sinai, Africa to Sinai, then towards Turkey, and then towards Central Asia, then Iran, and then Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then India. And so according to that examination, some 90% of my 4th generation, 5th generation cousins live in Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan, and of course in the Indian Punjab. Anyway, so the belief is, at least among some scholars, that the Aryans migrated and they established their Zoroastrian faith, and some did not necessarily become Zoroastrians. They continued with the old faith of fire worship, and so this community apparently built their this kind of establishment near Baku. And there is another place near Kirkuk in Iraq called Baba Gurgur, that also apparently again was established by some fire worshipping travelers from India. But anyway, this is one hypothesis. You may not necessarily agree with that. And so this temple at present has these 24 cells and one guest house on the second floor above the entrance, which is called Balkhane guest house. And So initially there were 7 fires which got extinguished, and I think it was 1869 perhaps, or maybe 1969, I think not 1969, could be, I'm sorry, I think date could be wrong, I didn't realize. But anyway, when they, possibly 1869, when the Noble company started harvesting gas here, so this gas was cut off, and now only the artificial gas is fed through a pipe in the temple, as I told you. And so as I told you, the Trishul and the Vedi and the inscriptions on all these chambers clearly show it is a Hindu temple or a Hindu akhada, as the sannyasis of the Udāsīna Sampradāya tradition call it. So it was kind of dera or akhada or so-called temple of the Udāsīna people who had been living here. And after the 6th Guru compromised, they had some understanding with the Udāsīns, and the Udāsīns agreed to disseminate Sikhism into Central Asia, outside Punjab, into different parts of South Asia as well. And apparently these Udāsi sadhus went into Afghanistan, Iran and Azerbaijan area, and also started staying here and built these chambers, possibly with the help of these traders. And so, as I said, these sadhus of Udāsīna Sampradāya established this kind of temple that you see now. So you have this kind of inscriptions. For example, this inscription again in written in Devanagari. So you have the again first sentence, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. So in various this sentence, and then various other kinds of stuff, and the Jwala, the word Jwalaji, invariably in all the inscriptions. So you have I think about 23 inscriptions in Devanagari, and as I said, Gurmukhi, Farsi and Landa. This one is in Landa script, except the first sentence, swastika. Most of the inscriptions are swastika at the beginning, and then Shri Ganeshaya Nama, Om Shri Ganeshaya Nama in Devanagari. Rest of the inscription is in Landa script. So there are 2 of them like this. Now coming to the Gurumukhi tablets, these inscriptions, they are installed like this. All the inscriptions are installed like this above the door of the chamber, meditation chamber, above this, except 2 which are, one is in the entrance area and the other one is on top of the balcony, the guest room. 2 inscriptions are there as well. So the closer view of this inscription is this. This is the symbol Ek Onkar, like Om, the Sikh symbol, and then the Mool Mantra, Satnam Karta, Purkh, Nirbhav, Nirvair, so on and so forth, and then the names of some sadhus. This was a copy made by somebody when Alexander Dumas came here. Around that time, somebody made a copy of this, because some of the inscriptions have been damaged. One actually has been stolen, but some visitors who came here, they made copies. So copies made by on pen and paper are also available. One German scholar has actually made this collection. I borrowed from there. So these handmade copies also of these inscriptions. So words are not very clear. Now the problem is even Guru Granth Sahib, if you see the original manuscripts, they do not write words separately. The whole thing is written in one line. And not only that, if the word, there is not sufficient space, the next word is, so you say, let's say the word is of 5 letters, so you write 4 letters here and 1 letter here. So, sometimes it becomes very hard to read. So anyway, till here it is the Mool Mantra and then the names of some sadhus. Transcription in Devanagari. Sadhus, I'll come to the English translation. This is the English translation. This is transcription in Roman. And so this translation of the Mool Mantra. And then the names of sadhus, Baba Jagu Shah, whose disciple was Baba Pagu Shah, whose disciple was Baba Banke Shah, whose disciple is Chat Shah, who built this holy place. Some of these sadhus are historical personalities. They are known in the Udāsīna records as having been real persons who went to this place, and they also, some of these sadhus established some of their temples and akharas in India as well. There is one akhara in Amritsar established by one of these sadhus, so his name is there too. So these sadhus are historical personalities. They are made up name. So the other inscription, second inscription in Gurumukhi is this one. Apparently this was damaged by somebody with a hammer, and some of the letters are not very clear. When I was doing research on this, including the copy made by somebody, many things are not really very clear. Very difficult, very hard to really decipher, make out what word exactly it would be. And so, for example, the word Bujagli is very clear. Tha, the word looks like Tha. Charan is also clear. K is not very clear. Vaheguru is misspelled, but it's Vahaguru, not Vaheguru. Even in Punjabi, you don't spell Vaheguru in Punjabi also like that twice. This also has its own significance. But it was very hard to decipher most of it. Some of it is guesswork. And once I made a presentation in one university in Punjab, and some of the scholars there were not very sure if my reading is correct. My reading is correct. For example, the word Bujagli, I did lot of Google searching and made some inquiries, and I found out that Bujagli is a place in East Africa, very well known place where you have a big hydroelectric power station. But the scholars said no, Bujagli possibly means something else, so on and so forth. Anyway, there have been disagreements. So the first is the Mool Mantra, and then the names of the sadhus. So my translation was that this place, Bujagli, at the feet of Vaheguru twice. Now Bujagli, possibly maybe the Udāsīns were able to win some followers in the East Africa area. They were certainly very active. There is a possibility maybe one of the devotees came from here and made some donation and maybe built one of these chambers, this chamber, and put his name. And so maybe, so it really is that place, Bujagli, or maybe something else. So reading is not really very satisfactory. So I have done some work on these sadhus, and so Asthan Baba Melaram near Lahore, there was a real sadhu, and so some of his disciples had been here in Baku. That, and Vaheguruji Sahai has been used, this expression in this inscription at the end of the Mool Mantra. And Vaheguruji Sahai was only used by the 10th Guru of the Sikhs. It has clearly connection with Guru Gobind Singh. That's what the experts who work on this tell us. And then, as I said, so I thought Bujagli is a place in East Africa, possibly on the 4th spiritual journey. Nanak went towards Egypt and East Africa, then turned towards Makkah, Medina and beyond. But in any case, one thing is certain, the connection with Baku, connection of Baba Nanak with Baku is very, very clear. So therefore, to say that the fourth journey is not historical may not be exactly correct. At least Nanak's visit to Baku during the fourth journey appears to be very clear. So there appears to be some historicity of this travel. The one other inscription in Devanagari is this one, which again, this one doesn't have the Om Shri Ganeshaya. It says Shri and then some Ram, Sat and some names. I'll show you the translation. And the last word here is Nanak, Nanak. And okay, this is the proper reading of this inscription. 1770 of the Samvatira, so on and so forth, the names, possibly the visitors or some visitor, Kashidas or whatever came here or dedicated to Shri Ram. But the interesting part in this inscription is the last sentence, Tar Chand, which possibly is Tara Chand, Nat Mastaj Nanak. Now in Gurmukh, in Punjabi, Nat Mastaj, normally you say when you bow before the holy person or holy book, we call it Nat Masjid. Like in Hindi we say, Punjabi we say Matha Tekta. I bow my head before you. In that part of the world where I was born, so we call Nat Mastaj and Nanak. That means I bow before Nanak. So Tara Chand bows before Nanak, this says. Now why does it say I bow before Nanak? Now if you look at the tradition of pilgrimage, why do we go to places, holy places? All religions, whether it is Makkah, Medina or say these places we have in India, the holy places, because those great beings left their spiritual power there because they came there, so those places are imbued with spiritual power, spirituality of those people. And so when you visit this place, you sort of get a share in that spirituality. That is the purpose of going to these holy places on pilgrimage. So because this person Tara Chand comes here and bows before Nanak because he believes that Nanak had been here, he left his spiritual power there, and so he's come here to bow before him. And so that is the idea that because Baba Nanak's name is mentioned here and somebody bows to Baba Nanak, apparently Baba Nanak had been here, that's why. So this is what I said. So it's a kind of tirtha, holy place for the followers of Baba Nanak and Baba Shri Chand. And so therefore these pilgrims who come here, they believe that Baba Nanak was here, so they bow before him. Sorry, yeah. So, no, there was some more. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's all. Thank you so much. So this was all about this Devanaji temple. Thank you.
Now is the time to start discussions.
Are the inscriptions still present?
Sorry?
After the ramp was added,
Uh-huh.
are the inscriptions?
Yeah. Inscriptions are there. But very funny thing is that despite all these inscriptions, which are clearly Hindu, of the Hindu faith, of the Udāsīns, the Trishul for one reason or the other hasn't been installed. But when they made the replica a few kilometers from there, only few years ago, they installed the Trishul above it, which again is clearly Indian symbol of Indic religions. And so when I visited this temple on the occasion of Navroz, so I was talking to these Parsi boys and girls and others. I spent the whole day with them. Very, very nice people, wonderful people. In fact, Azerbaijan, you know, the kind of impression you have about Shalafi, Wahhabi Islam in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, you don't see that kind of thing in Central Asia. So, the whole of Central Asia, I've traveled extensively there, you don't see any kind of extremist sort of elements. Possibly that is one reason that this temple has survived. So whatever Ilhan Aliyev did, the president, he's still the president, I don't think he made this platform because he's against Hinduism or so on. No, they're very, very liberal, very secular kind of people. In fact, some surveys done in Azerbaijan show that the people are so very sort of open-minded liberal as against praying 5 times a day, or not necessarily feeling very happy with non-Islamic faith. That kind of thing you do not see at all in Central Asia. Even in Turkey, Western Turkey. And I remember once through one friend of mine, he was a professor, Marxist scholar, was very close to the president of Albania, Anwar Hoxha. I wanted to see Albania and I got visa with his help, and I went to Albania, which in those days under Anwar Hoxha there was a death sentence if you pray or proselytize. He was very strict in Albania, very, very strict in a Muslim country, because he was a communist dictator. And when I visited Albania, he was the dictator. And but so all mosques were, or churches, mosques, whatever was there, was virtually shut down. And once Anwar Hoxha died, and then it became kind of democratic country. It is in Europe, in the neighborhood of Greece. And I visited again about 10 years ago. So I sat in front of a mosque, and I realized that during those 5-6 hours when I sat in front of the mosque, nobody went there. So the noontime prayers, nobody bothered. And so I talked to the Maulana of the mosque, and I got the impression as if people are not really interested. Like you see all over Europe, Christians do not really go to churches. When my daughter got married to a Christian boy, and they decided that we will have a Hindu, Sikh and Christian wedding, so 3 faiths. So we went to the Gurudwara, they got married there, then we went to a Hindu temple, they got married there, then we went to the church. And church, we had to clean it. It took us 3 days to clean the church because it had shut down in Toronto. Nobody went to that church. So people don't simply care, they are unaffiliated. So in Azerbaijan, so that kind of environment. But I think the local Zoroastrians also, for whatever reasons, because it's a fire temple, and so people all over the world somehow, other than Indians, think that fire worship only is sort of part of Zoroastrianism, not Indian. So therefore, Aliyev also, when he or his people, when they did this renovation of the temple, out of their ignorance, I think they built that platform. They didn't realize that that Trishul is very important, they should put it there. But then somebody else, maybe another scholar, who was given the task of to get a replica constructed. So this fellow built it on a hillock in the Parsi way, but the temple itself is built in the Hindu way, with the Vedi and with the Trishul. So, so as far as the government is concerned, or the people in general are concerned, they are not really kind of people who would say, it has to be a Zoroastrian temple and let's remove these inscriptions, this. No. So people are kind of very, very secular, and nobody seems to be really worried much about this or the consequences of what they do. They are not kind of religion based. So when this Navroz was being celebrated, they were celebrating inside also, and they all believed it is their temple. And when you tell them, but how about all this, they just laugh it off. Then, oh, maybe it was for example, some students told me that, oh, you often talk about the shared space. Yeah, please come. Yeah. So this one student started joking. He said, you talk about sharing holy space, that Indians share their holy space, people of different faiths. You talk about sharing space. So why can't the Zoroastrians and Hindus share space? Maybe they share this holy space, so it is both Hindu and Zoroastrian. And in any case, at present, the people think it is a Zoroastrian temple, or if you point out, how about these inscriptions, how about that Trishul, then they say, oh, it is both Hindu and Zoroastrian, which also in a way is wonderful, that people are prepared to sort of accept that it is a kind of multivalent, multi-religious sort of place. And when I pointed out to the ambassador in India a couple of years ago, he actually was invited by IGNCA to release my book, and so we began talking, and he didn't read the book that was given to him, my book, and so when I started telling him how about these inscriptions, so he came to release the book thinking it is basically Zoroastrian temple. He said he had been there a couple of times, but when I said no, it's a Hindu temple, he was kind of shocked not because he was unhappy, he was shocked that it is a Hindu temple clearly when I showed him this Vedi and the Trishul and the inscriptions. And he said, oh, I've been there, but I never really thought that way, and oh, very bad, this shouldn't have happened, this Vedi kind of thing. But now because it has been done, it's very difficult to remove that. And but I think it was very clearly a Hindu temple, because it's built in the plains, it's not on a hillock. Zoroastrians build their temples on hillocks. And Trishul and the inscriptions undoubtedly prove that at least when this structure was built some 300 years ago, it definitely since then has been a Hindu temple, not a Zoroastrian temple. But the locals really are very secular kind of, very wonderful people. In Central Asia, you don't see Wahhabi, Shlafi kind of thing. So it's very sad that Pakistan has basically brought a lot of bad name to Islam, but Islam in Central Asia is very, very kind of open, liberal. You do not have kind of any issues. I mean, as a non-Islamic person, you do not feel any problem at all. Like in some areas, for example, during the Ramadans, say even in Pakistan, if you eat in a restaurant or a restaurant is open, people will be very upset, very angry. They'll burn the restaurant down. And but in Central Asia, nobody cares. It's up to you. Like, for example, a person like me, I was born in a Sikh family, my wife was born in a Hindu family, my daughter is married to a Christian boy, and there are some other members of my family who really do not know what their faith is. So I just, wherever something is happening, I go, whether it's Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Christians, I just go. And generally nobody asks me a question. If people ask me a question, ask me about my religion, I say Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh. And they sometimes get shocked, but nobody takes an offense. They say, oh my God, is it possible? I said, yes, the menu is too large. One religion is too little for me, so I belong to all of them. And so I remember my daughter's mother-in-law, she's a kind of very religious Christian lady. Others don't care. My son-in-law doesn't care at all. He allowed my daughter to name the children and give Hindu names, or the names who look like Hindus. They just don't care. You know, young people, these days. They just don't care. It's okay. But the mother-in-law is kind of a little religious, so she said, she invited me for lunch, and I sat on the table with her and her husband, the three of us. She started praying. I also said, okay, no problem. Oh, she said, so you are not the kind of Sikh you told my son. I said, no, I was joking with your son. When my daughter got married to this boy, I told my daughter, okay, bring your boyfriend I want to meet him. So this boy comes and I ask this boy, I said, do you know I'm a Sikh? He said, yes. I said, have you heard about honor killing? He said, yes. I said, see, it's very simple. Either you become a Sikh if you want to marry my daughter, if you want my blessings. Now you met my daughter in the university and you guys are getting married. You can get married and you can go to hell, I don't care. But if you want my blessings, you have to become a Sikh. Marriage will take place in a Sikh temple. Otherwise, he said, no, I'm ready to become a Sikh. I said, no, I was joking. And when the father and mother heard that I said something like this, they were kind of very scared, because Sikhs are known for, they simply take a sword and start killing. And the Sikhs in Canada are even more notorious. They are very aggressive, very violent, and most of them are, Khalistanis, very aggressive. So this mother and father were very scared. So after this, the next day when I went to see the boy's mother and father, and so the father stood up, he said, look, I have no role, I and my wife have no role to play in our son and your daughter's stuff. We have nothing to do with this. So if you really are thinking of this honor killing kind of thing, we have no role in it. And whatever manner, whatever way they want to get married, we have no objection. So please don't think we have any role. I said, no, it's okay. But still they were really kind of very worried. But anyway, what I'm saying is, Azerbaijan is a kind of place where nobody seems to really worry too much about all these things. People are very secure and secular. And Islam in Central Asia, you see these people, it's kind of personal faith. Personal faith. You don't try to sort of bring in your relationship with other people around. It's very, very secular, I think. Yeah. So this temple is very safe. Now anyway, it's a UNESCO protected site. So there is no kind of hostility to the existence of this temple at all now. Yeah.
So you have mentioned about the Jwala place. Jwala is name of Sati.
Yes.
So
Adi Shakti.
how it is related to is it related to Shakti Pit?
Yes.
So,
Shakti Nagar temple is also Jwala temple.
so only 4 or 5 places is called as Jwala.
Where the tongue fell apparently. Different body parts fell, these 51 pieces. One tradition says I think 108 also. So wherever these pieces of the body fell, different temples were built. And where the tongue fell, the fire came out of the earth. It's natural fire. And so the Jwala temples were built. I think there are 5 or 6 Jwala temples in India. Pieces of the tongue. The whole body was split with the arrow into 51 pieces, because Lord Shiva wouldn't do the funeral, the cremation of the dead body. He was so angry. Of course, most Indians know that story. Shiva and his wife were not invited by her father, Shiva's father-in-law, because apparently he wasn't happy with him. He lived a kind of very wild life and ash smeared body, so on and so forth. And but the wife insists that she will attend that very important sacrificial function, Yajna. And Shiva told her not to go because we are not invited. She says, I'm the daughter. Daughter doesn't need an invitation from the father. But she goes and she realizes that the father actually insulted her. And so she in anger jumped into that sacrificial fire and committed suicide. And so Shiva was very angry. And the gods got together to kind of solve this issue. He's carrying the dead body and doing this destruction. And so an arrow was shot and the body was cut into small pieces so that he can't carry it on his shoulder. So that is the sort of myth, legend built around this.
If not, sir, then may I?
Yeah, please, sir.
Sir, two things which bother me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
One you mentioned today also,
Mm-hmm.
Sapt Sindhu.
Right.
And in the same place is all Pancha, which is well known in Greek also.
Yes,
Mesopotamia and others.
Yes.
So why two names for the similar regions? What is the difference?
I really don't know. I mean, for example, Indus is not mentioned. When you talk about 5 rivers, Indus is not one of them. But Indus flows right through the center of Punjab. Though, of course, all these 5 rivers meets, they are tributaries of the Indus rivers. Sindhu.
Because
Sindhu.
Panchana is a very old concept. Panchana means Pennsylvania, but then Sapt Sindhu. What is actually the
7 rivers, same area, the 2 more rivers are added to the 5.
Yes.
I really don't know the background to that. Why 5 and then why 7? But apparently the Panch, Aap, Sanskrit, or Aab, Farsi, Arabic, water, and 7, Sapt or Hapt, and Hindu, Indus. These 7 rivers and 5 rivers, I think I read somewhere, I can't recall it exactly where, that this kind of thing exists somewhere else also in some other culture. 5 rivers, land of 5 rivers, and land of 7
Oh
rivers.
yes, this exists. 5 and 7 this exists, but here only. So and the other things, sir, if you have any reflections, that the script that you mentioned, which did not have the
Vowels.
vowels,
Hmm.
which you find is a very natural phenomenon in script.
Hmm.
Even now, when these young people we also write many times, if you see the messaging language, we drop the vowels and you understand by the context the word. You often don't write the vowels. You write simply the consonants in English alphabet and we understand it. It may be Hindi being written that way, but you write only the consonants. So, do you see any reason why they had this way of writing when the vowels were available?
And why didn't they use those?
Why didn't they use any reason for this?
First, about the first question, was, I think maybe they thought 5 rivers, smaller particular area, and 7 maybe larger area. Because, for example, when Muhammad bin Qasim invades India in 711, and when you look at the sources, 2 terms are used. One is Al-Hind and Al-Sindh. 2 expressions are used. So Sindh is smaller area, I think Hind is larger area. I think what I heard as a little boy, when people generally talk about it, about this writing without the vowels. For example, when I was born, we were very, very poor. We had come from Pakistan, my parents, and the land that they owned took many years to transfer. And then when the land was transferred, by the time I was born, land was transferred. But it was a kind of arid area towards Rajasthan side. And in Punjab, water is very scarce anyway. So there was so much poverty. We had a lot of land, but nothing grew, and we were very, very poor. So most of the people who had come from Pakistan, they were so poor that they had to borrow money from the moneylender, who charged something like 70% interest per annum. compounded interest, total 70%. 5% per month compounded, and first month's interest he will deduct at source. So if you go to borrow 100 rupees, he'll give you 95 rupees and then charge 5% per month on 100 rupees, which is a lot of interest. And then the money lender would also manipulate figures because nobody could read what he was writing. Only a specialist from his family or that community could read it. And so when I was trying to decipher this inscription, I had very hard time because only those people knew this script. And even they have now stopped after computers have come. In computers, it's even far easier to hide, but now people have become very conscious, it's not so easy. Now the government also has come into play, politicians and all kinds of things. People have got access to all kinds of information. Now it happens, moneylenders still charge 2-3% interest per month, compounded interest. Even I have borrowed a couple of times. When my daughter was marrying, younger daughter got married, my wife said she'll get married in Delhi, and I had to borrow about 50 lakh rupees. And I tried to borrow it from the university, my PF, and then the application disappeared, and then I tried from the bank. Bank was asking all kinds of documents I couldn't afford. So I borrowed from the money lender in my village at 2%. And he told me that he is doing a very big favor to me because generally he charges something like 3%. But because I am a very famous man in the area, so he'll give me a 2%. And he told me that if you have extra money, whenever you give that money to me, I'll pay you 2% per month, compounded. Anyway, so the thinking in the communities at that time was that these money lenders use those books, they call it Bahi Khata, basically write in that. It is very impossible to challenge that because only those people can read it. Nobody else can read it. So when I was trying to learn it, there were very few people, old people who know this script. So I tried to learn it, and even then I had difficulty in deciphering this because it's a kind of very, very private sort of thing for these people. So perhaps that may have been the reason.
So basically a kind of cryptic.
Absolutely. That is the word, yes.
So,
Cryptic,
so,
yeah.
So,
Very cryptic, obviously. Very cryptic.
yes. So that is one possibility for some many others. But basically from the legend we say that it should have been cryptic because they have to hide.
They have?
Because they have to hide the information.
I think, yeah. I mean, that's what is the impression that people had. And I think somebody did some work from the, medieval period. Some of my colleagues at Delhi University, one of my very, very close friends specialized on medieval history, and he knew Farsi because during the medieval period, the Mughals were ruling over India, and most of the sources are in Farsi, Persian. And so he knows Farsi, and he also knew one of these languages from Rajasthan, where in the Bahis. And so he was also telling me, he also learnt that Rajasthani dialect in which these Bahis were written, again, same kind of cryptic stuff. So he also told me that basically they deliberately made it cryptic like that without vowels, matras, because that is the best way to sort of hide it from you. How would you challenge it? You can't read it, so you read it to you. And if another person can read it, it also belongs to that community. Legally also perhaps it would be difficult to challenge it because very few people sort of knew it. I had very few times you have a problem. I mean, very few times. Generally you would meet travelers, some of them who have worked very hard, they, of course now people carry gadgets, it will immediately translate for you. You speak in English, it will, you're talking to somebody, say in Azerbaijani, it will simultaneously translate into Azerbaijani and that way. But in those days when such things were not available, you could always see travelers. Travelers, whether they know each other or not, have their own kind of brotherhood. And when I am traveling, another person is traveling, there is a kind of brotherhood. If I am having some difficulty, I don't have to hesitate. He or she will be very happy to help me. So hundreds of times I have shared room with men and women because you are tight on budget and say, okay, why don't we stay together? And or you have other difficulties, people help you. Except very few occasions. I remember once in Germany, I went to see this very famous beer festival in a small town, and my direction sense is very bad. North became south and east became west. So station was this side, I was going this side. So I asked somebody, station, and in that area, either people did not know English or maybe they were a little hostile towards English speaking people, and that to Indian, maybe, my guess. So I nearly missed the train that I wanted to travel by because people were not able to understand, and then sometimes people also, this is a habit with I saw this in Noida. I think people in Noida area have this habit. So you ask somebody, भाई साहब वो जगह जाना है मुझे पता है आपको बोलेगा. And then you go there and just ask somebody, भाई साहब वो जाना पता है बोलेगा. And so I asked some people, I said, what is wrong with people in the Noida area? They are rascals, very bad people. That is what they do. Never ask people in Noida for directions. Never. Now of course you use Google. So I used to, set that paper for NTA, National Testing Agency. They had a headquarters in Noida. Every time I would get down from the bus, I think there was no metro in that area at that time. So invariably, this happened 5-6 times, we'll just say. And so then we got talking, some of us, the professors, and they said, hey, rascals, very bad people here for this direction, just say like that. And I said, what's very bad? They said, yes, very bad, but that's what they... So in Germany, so finally, so I was, I knew a few words like train, Zug, or, but even then there was a problem. And then when I said Hauptbahnhof, and even then there was some problem. Finally, somebody understood Hauptbahnhof and then told me there. But generally, not really a problem. But now, now I travel in South America, for example. I spent 6 months at Machu Picchu in that area and travel. Almost everybody understands English now. Almost, I think. Even in China.
That's why I'm asking, those days when you traveled in these areas,
Yeah.
they would have been mostly Russian-speaking areas.
Yes, but then the beauty was that the secret services would invariably follow you and they will help you. They generally would help you. Russia, of course, KGB people were very helpful, always following you. In fact, I remember when I entered Russia from Viborg, Finland, to travel to St. Petersburg, 3 KGB people were waiting for me. When I crossed the border, they welcomed me. And when I entered China on the Trans-Siberian train, and 3 people were still traveling by train. And I came to know that in those days KGB would put 3 people behind every foreigner who entered Russia. So KGB were very helpful. And Western Europe still was sort of not a problem to travel. Eastern Europe, secret services would follow you everywhere, but being an Indian, Eastern Europe was very friendly. I remember I went to Berlin from Hamburg. There was a corridor, possibly electrified fence and dogs. So you travel from there were 3 corridors towards Western Berlin, and so anybody coming from Eastern Europe towards West had to travel on this train, which was kind of in total control. And so as it crosses the border, though the corridor is there, they will check everything with dogs and that kind of thing. If you try to get out, they'll kill you. They were so strict. Instead of I took the train from Hamburg. The zoological garden was the last station in West Germany. Then the train entered East Berlin. Those who were East German would go beyond this station in the zoological garden. So I did not know, and I made a mistake. I thought train will stop in West Berlin. So train went to East Berlin. I picked up my rucksack and came out, and the immigration stopped me. So he said, passport, passport. I showed him passport. He said, visa. And so I was showing him West German visa. Visa. He said, no, visa. I said, this is visa. So then they called somebody who spoke English and said, sir, this is East Germany. Do you have East German visa? I said, no, I'm sorry, no. I have come to West Berlin. They said, no, this is East Berlin. And so I said, so what do I do? And they said, if it will take a couple of hours, we will make an exception for you because you are an Indian friend. We can give you visa for East Berlin if you want. It will take a couple of hours because you should have got the visa. Otherwise, you please go back. I said, yes, I will go back. He said, okay, go back. And but perhaps in modern times, if I were not an Indian, they would possibly, think I'm a spy or whatever. So they were Russians. The entire East Bloc was very, very friendly towards India, very friendly. So KGB would invariably, they would know good English and they would always help you and follow you almost everywhere. But as such, I didn't really have any problem, including Africa. Generally, even in Pakistan, for example, now, for a person like me, I don't think it's a really problem. So most of the stuff is totally hyped up. It's only the military and some politicians for whom it's a very big business to, say the Indians will be killed if they go there. Or for a person, common person like me who has absolutely no kind of interest other than being a teacher and a traveler or a student. So even in Pakistan, I look like a Afghan or Iranian person or a Pakistani. So in these areas it's not a problem at all for me, really. I remember a couple of years ago I was in Iran. The moment they come to know you are an Indian, they are so friendly, very, very friendly. At the airport, when I was coming back at the counter, this Iranian lady, I gave my passport and ticket. Without seeing this, perhaps I broke the line, I don't know what happened. She was kind of angry. She didn't even look at my passport and the ticket. She started talking to me in Farsi. So I said, please talk to me in English. Then she said, in English, you should be ashamed of yourself. You speak in English being an Iranian. I said, no, I'm not an Iranian, I'm an Indian. And then she said, okay, I'm sorry. So traveling for people like us, Indians in this area, is more like a local guy. And at least I did not really have any problem in Afghanistan, for example, or in Iran, or Pakistan, as such.
And what about, did you travel with your books? I'm asking because see, there are people like Professor A.K. Prasad. He had interesting encounters with KGB. He went with certain books. And he was asked that you cannot go because these are pornography. These were paintings of Picasso. So
Yeah. Pakistan also does. They seized my books
the
once.
KGB, the moment they did you also face anything like that?
Not that. I mean, in Russia in those days, hotels in China and Russia, people were segregated. In China and Russia, you had to stay only in a hotel which is only for foreigners. Russians are not allowed inside. I remember in St. Petersburg, I was staying in this hotel, only foreigners except the staff, waiters and the staff. And one very beautiful looking girl came and sat next to me in the lobby and spoke very little English, but she was a very good painter, and she sat in front of me and made my painting, sketch, and then she gave it to me and she wrote her name and all. And then we began talking and then she sort of offered to be my friend, so I was kind of very happy, very beautiful looking girl, and said, why not, and we got talking. And then this KGB chaps come and arrested her. And then I asked there was one German gentleman, I see some movie maker, Big Shot I think. He was watching us from a distance, and at dinner time he came and sat next to me, and he said, that was a narrow escape. I said, yes, what happened actually? What? I don't know, why did they arrest her? He said she was a local girl, and these girls are crazy about jeans and foreign cigarettes. So a typical university girl would be very happy to sleep with a foreigner if she can get hold of a pair of jeans or a packet of cigarettes. He said things are so bad here. This girl probably bribed one of the staff, the security staff at the gate, and came in, and possibly to ask you for a pair of jeans or cigarettes or whatever. And she got caught. And I don't know why they left you. Possibly they would have actually taken you also to the police station and done maybe some interrogation. And yeah, this was one incident I very clearly remember. But on the whole, I thought they were basically very friendly. Pakistanis, for example, I purchased a lot of books of the archaeological survey of Pakistan, because there are a lot of very beautiful Buddhist sites in Pakistan, including 3 very, very beautiful museums, Lahore and Peshawar, even Taxila on Buddhism. Very beautiful, very, very good, the best possibly in the world. Outside they have dynamited all these images or defaced them, but within these museums, very good. So I bought a lot of these books from normal counters, like you go to a museum, so they have those booklets, or archaeological survey of Pakistan's office, like India. So you can buy these books. So I bought a lot of these books, and when I was crossing back into India, they seized those books. They said, you are not allowed to carry them. These are our secret maps on this. I said, I bought from a normal counter. What the hell are you talking about? And we began talking in Punjabi. And so we had long argument, and then finally he said, yes, I agree. You purchase from normal counters. But we have directions, ISI, that not a single piece, even one page of printed material will go from this side to this side, or you cannot bring anything from this side to this side. So I'm seizing it. So he seized it. But sometimes they are very rude, of course, but that is to be expected. For example, ISI a few times were very rough, and I thought our secret services are far more invisible as compared to Pakistanis, who are most generally these Pathans and these Punjabi guys who are very aggressive. Unnecessarily they try to show their power, and occasionally you become a victim of that kind of behavior. I remember once I took about 30 students from my department to Pakistan, and the Embassy High Commission gave visa to us very happily, and they waived the requirement of getting registered every day in a police station. And visa, by the way, for Pakistan to Indians is given only city-wise. So if you want to visit 5 cities, you mention them in your visa form, and in the visa, in the passport, they write those names. You can only go to those places. You go to any other place, they will arrest you. And then it could be very serious. So the students, we were staying in a hotel in front of the railway station, about 300 meters from the railway station. There was a big ground in between. And the day we were coming back, the train was at about 8 o'clock in the morning. I told all the students, I said, okay, you go. And I asked 2 students to pay the bills in the hotel. I said, you pay the bills, I'm waiting outside watching them go. Now the ISI people perhaps thought that I'm some kind of waiting for somebody, because I'm leaving, waiting for somebody to give me something or to give something to somebody. So these ISI people came in a car. I was standing in the stairs of the hotel, and so they stopped the car and they said, come here. So I said, why? Because I am asking you. I said, I am telling you. No. Why you want me? He said, who are you waiting for? I said, nobody. Then why are you standing here? He said, oh, my students are gone. I'm going to India. I'm Indian. He said, yes, I know. I'm waiting for them to go. Why do you have to wait for them? They're just going towards the station. I said, no, these are young boys and girls, sometimes they make mistakes. I don't want any trouble. But he didn't believe me. He said, no, I have to. You are waiting for somebody else. I see, I'm not waiting for anybody else. 2 of my students are making the payment, clearing the bills. Once they do that, I will also go with them. And we are not doing anything. He said, okay, come closer. I said, I won't come closer to you. Just imagine you grab me and then drag me off. I won't do that. He said, no, I won't do that. I said, okay, all right, I'll come, but remember, you can't grab me like that. Okay. So I stood next to him. I said, okay, you search. So he searched. He said, what is this? I said, my money belt. He said, take it out. I said, okay, back off. So he said, okay. So I backed off. I took my money belt and showed it to him. So he looked through, and then he gave it back to me. But he said, give me your passport also. I said, no. Just imagine you run away with my passport. What will I do? I can't show you I can't give you my passport. Any page you want to see, I'll show you from distance. So he felt very insulted because he was showing his power, and I refused to sort of submit to him. And finally, yes, he just drove away. So this has happened a couple of times. What they do is, perhaps it's very normal on our side of the border as well, but our services, I think, are fairly invisible. They are kind of more crude. Another time we hired a bus. Because it's easy to wear salwar kameez, that Pakistani kind of dress. We at home in India, in my own home, we wear that kind of Pathani kind of dress because it's kind of more comfortable, like kurta pajama. So I bought that kind of kurta pajama. So I was moving around in the bazaar like a Pathan in Lahore, and then I went to one tourist shop and hired a bus for 7 days to travel to these places. So the guy showed me the bus and the driver. Next in the morning when the bus and the driver came, they were different. The bus was different and the driver was different. So I said, I can speak the same kind of Punjabi because my mom and dad spoke that kind of Punjabi. So at home we spoke that kind of Punjabi, local kind of Punjabi, Lahori Punjabi. So I told him कि भाई this is not the bus. क्या लगा वो सर वो bus को खराब हो गई. I said but how about you? It was supposed to be the other driver. कह रहा वो सर तबीयत खराब. क्या यार दोनों खराब हो गया? तो I started arguing with him. He said कि सर यही है, लेना है तो ले लो, नहीं लेना तो मत लो. Finally we said okay. And then we realized that he was an ISI man, so a driver himself. And then he would try to, kind of entice us. There was one hill station in Pakistan occupied Kashmir which is very close to Islamabad. We were in Islamabad and he was telling me, very beautiful place, Murray. You can come and I can show you. Very beautiful hill station like your Shimla. I said, but we don't have the visa. He said, no need. ISI. You take us there and then we are arrested for, visiting a place which, is not mentioned in the visa. So this kind of dirty, ugly thing happens, but otherwise common masses, fantastic. I remember not even once I had to pay for tea or lunch whenever I ate somewhere and people came to know I'm an Indian. Pakistanis wouldn't even charge you. The kind of friendship. And the Pakistanis also tell there are all kinds of blogs these days, these guys. And Punjabis from this side of the Punjab, which they call Charda Punjab, and the other side Lenda Punjab. There are a lot of kind of friends. They make movies together, they travel to Dubai or one of the other countries in the West. They make vlogs and there are very strong friendships. And apparently I heard that Pakistani government is very liberal with Punjabis from this side when they want to go and visit Punjabis on the other side. And so there is kind of very wonderful camaraderie between masses. But the reality is that revolutions or all these crazy things that happen in the world are done only by maybe 5% people. 5% people can bring a revolution. So Pakistan is perhaps controlled only by maybe 5% of those military and and bureaucracy, those people. The rest of the population is kind of, for a person like me, because I look like them, I sort of have the same kind of food habits, dress, clothes. So it's just like if I close my eyes and you drop me somewhere in Pakistan, I wouldn't feel as if I'm in a foreign country. It's as simple as that.